We bought our first flat in Barnet. Scarlette now wants to get this horrendous stiletto heeled chair. I said, what is that for? She goes, oh, it's a statement chair. We can put it in the living room. And I was like, that statement chair is not going anywhere near this flat. Scarlette will say things, I'll be like, what are you talking about? That's a crap idea. You wanted that purpley sort of like wallpaper in the bedroom.
Actually, you chose that.
How would you advise somebody to maintain a long-term business relationship?
There are going to be times when, the lines might cross, but I think as long as you know what your roles are, that's always going to help. Talk it through. We can't fall out. We're brother and sister, but friends potentially could. But as long as you remember you're doing this as a business and a business is separate to your friendship or your family relation or whatever that is, don't muddy those lines of a friendship or relationship and business, because that's when you're going to start running into problems.
Welcome back to another episode of the PBK podcast. Each and every week, we bring you a fantastic guest. And this week, you got a buy one, get one free. You've got a dynamic duo. You've got a as seen on TV, the host with the most, Scarlette Stuart. How you doing?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. You can say that again, actually. I quite like that.
That was good, isn't it? Yeah, no, do you know why though?
Yeah,
obviously, I told you that I'm coming for some of your sauce. I'm trying to let the outlets know that I'm ready to present.
Okay, he's ready, guys. He's ready. Nailed that intro.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. But obviously, we always bring people just because we want to share as much value as possible. You've done some amazing things in the property space, also in the presenting space. But I think your backgrounds are also really interesting. I think a lot of people know you, but don't actually know you pre the presenting. So if you can kind of give a little bit of the secret sauce of how you got to where you are.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my journey totally different from property. I was a dancer, professional dancer, singer, actress. I did musical theatre for 7 or 8 years in the West End. I travelled the world and it was amazing. Honestly, I loved it. I loved just being on stage, being in costume, playing different roles and different characters and having an audience to perform to every night. And being applauded as well at the end of your working day was fantastic.
Yeah.
So kind of long story short, the last musical I did was the X Factor musical. It was at the London Palladium. Harry Hill wrote it. Simon Cowell produced it. It was supposed to do a year. We got 2.5 months in and then we got a notice and the show was closed. We closed early. I remember being devastated and thinking, what am I going to do? Because I think at this point I was about 27 and I had started doing property development with Stuart when I was 24, which we'll get onto. But we just bought a new property to renovate. And in my head, the money that I had coming in for the next year was going to cover the renovation costs. So when the show closed early, I'm like, what am I going to do? Ant and Deck, they have their Saturday night takeaway show. I had danced on that when I was 17. I remember being at college and I got the job to dance on that show as a backing dancer. And then they were taking it on an arena tour. So I auditioned for it, got that job. And then being with them for, I think it was maybe 5 months or so, confirmed for me that I really wanted to be a TV presenter. I love talking. I love speaking with people. I love learning about people's journeys. And I would always be backstage in my musicals doing like little interviews with people, or I'd be asked to do the vlog for the show or whatever. And I'd done a few competitions, presenting competitions, got an agent off the back of that. But nothing was really happening because I wanted to be a presenter that did entertainment mainly. So after meeting Ant and Deck and being on tour with them, asking if I could interview them, they gave me lots of great advice. They set me up a meeting with their agent, and their agent basically gave me 2 ways to get into TV presenting. 1, go on Love Island because it was coming back. And I was like, don't know about that one. Or 2, use an expertise to get into it. And my expertise was obviously property development. So I went back to my agent, told her about it, said, look, you might not know, but I do development on the side. Can I use that as my way into television? And they saw that same day A Place in the Sun were looking for presenters that had a property background. So I went in, did a screen test after rounds of emails and Zooms and stuff. And then 10 days after my screen test, found out I got in. That was my first ever show, presenting show on Channel 4, their most prestigious daytime property show, A Place in the Sun.
No, I was saying,
that was it.
I'm sure A Place in the Sun made me pull a couple of sickies. I was enjoying it. So I knew that property was important to me early on. And how long did you actually do the show for?
I did that for 6.5 years.
Wow.
So I haven't been doing it for 2 years, which is funny because the shows always repeat. So whenever I see people, they're like, oh, I love you on A Place in the Sun. I'm like, thank you, but I'm not actually on it anymore. They're like, but I saw you yesterday. Yeah, but it's a repeat.
Yeah.
So for me, it's great because I'm not doing the work anymore,
like
but the show keeps
evergreen,
going up.
keeping you constant.
Literally, it's constantly going.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was my journey.
And what about yourself?
Yeah, I didn't plan on getting into presenting, that's a fact. When I was younger, my brother and myself, we loved football. We were just crazy about football. And our parents said to us, listen, as long as you get your grades at school, if you want to be a pro or you want to try and be pro, then fine, we'll support you. But if you don't get your grades, there's no chance that's happening. So me and my brother were like, you know what, we have to work hard at school because we want to play football. That was really our motivation. I remember my school teacher saying to me, don't play football. Don't try and be a football player because you won't make it. It's too hard. You're both very clever. Stay on at school, be head boy. And, you know, you're just like, I'm not interested in that. I want to play. All I wanted to do was play football. So got my grades and I was in the top 3 of my year, the grades that I got, my GCSEs. It was me and 2 girls. I was the only boy. And I remember my teacher saying to me, listen, Stuart, like, if you didn't play football, what would you want to do? And I said, I'd rather be a doctor, or it was either going to be a doctor or a lawyer. They were the 2 that I wanted to do. And I said, well, then stay. There's no reason why you can't become a doctor. There's no reason why you can't become a lawyer. You're very intelligent. And I was like, but I want to play football. And you could see them like, they're like, no, shaking their head.
Bang their head against the wall.
Yeah, like, what is this boy on? And anyway, left home when I was 16, signed an apprenticeship at Luton Town. And then when I was 17, made my debut.
Scored on your debut.
Scored on my debut. Got man of the match on my debut. I remember the next day I was like in all like the national newspapers as like this young starlet. I didn't really expect it. I hadn't even signed pro then. I was still an apprentice. But fortunately for me, the manager at the time, he was my youth team manager, got promoted to the first team, and he just, he believed in me. I probably owe my career to him because that what kicked out my career really. And then I immediately signed pro after that. And I was fortunate enough to play football be pro for like a good 10 years. And then you get a lot of time when you're a pro, you go into work at say like 9:30, you finish work at 2:30, and the rest of the day is yours. When I say work, you go in and you train. So then my mum and dad, again, they always said like, make sure you use your time wisely. So I remember I'd studied to be a physiotherapist, initially a sports therapist I was studying to do. So just to keep my brain working. And then I bought my first house when I was 21. I managed to save enough money. And the funny thing was, I don't know what it was like when you bought your first house or when you bought yours, but I was scared because you know when you save up all that money, I'm thinking, I've got a lump sum of money here. I've done so well. And then they were like, but I've got to put all of that on my deposit. And they were like, yeah, you got to. And I was like, but I don't want to give you all that money. I've just worked hard for this. And they were like, well, if you want to get a mortgage at this amount, this is what you got to pay. And fortunately for me, and I always say to anyone who wants to start a journey in property or in any profession, like, I believe in mentors. And I stumbled across my mentor. My mentor was a director at the football club. And I remember speaking to him and saying, listen, I want to buy my first place, but I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what I'm looking for. Like, can you help me? And he was like, yeah, sure. And the funny thing is, like, he was really proud that I asked him. He was like, yeah, I want to help you. Do you know what I mean? I think that people are too afraid to ask for help. And when you do ask for help, the reaction that I got, I was like, oh, wow. He's like, he really wants to be part of this. And I think because he was helping me, it almost reignited something in him because I think he saw a little bit of himself in me when I was looking around. And he said, oh, I'll tell you the hot spots to buy. I was playing for Luton at the time. And he said, oh, you can buy in Paddington, get the train up. And I was like, yeah, I could. And he goes, St. John's Wood, good area. Then I thought to myself, I've got to go from there to Luton every day. I said, I can't do that. He said, oh, St. Albans and Harpenden, they're very close to Luton. They're good places.
It was kind of in the middle of Luton and mum and dad's as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he said, if you buy here, you won't lose money. I guarantee you that. And that's all I wanted to hear, really. And at that time, I wasn't interested in making money. I just didn't want to lose money. That money that I was putting in, as long as I get that back at some stage, I was cool with that. So he helped me find a place, bought a house. It was a converted hat factory. Really nice, a little muse it was called, in between the town centre and the train station. Couldn't have bought a better plot.
So nice.
And that was my introduction to property. Carried on playing football whilst I lived there. And I remember I was there for 5 years, played at Luton. I changed it around. There's a bit of a bachelor pad, but I made a few little changes, not a lot. And then when I got it valued, it was valued at like 130 grand more than what I paid for it. Now, of course, there was probably appreciation in inflation and et cetera, but I didn't expect that. I just wanted my deposit back. So when he was like, I was like, when the guy told me, I was like, sorry, have you got that right? And he's like, yeah, you're in a great location. And at that point, I was like, I need to be buying. Like, if this is how, not how easy it was, but for me, it wasn't. I didn't deliberately go out to make that sort of money. I just wanted somewhere to live that I wouldn't lose my money. So when it happened, I was like, no, I need to get into this.
Do you think like other people that were at the club with you, that were similar to your age mates, were they buying as well, or what was people's general attitude?
No, because like you spend what you earn, and you have to live your life. I say it to my children. I've got 4 children. I always say to my children, like, you need to be sensible with your money. You need to save, and you need to make your money work for you. But I also know on the flip side of that coin, you have to enjoy your life.
Yeah.
But there is enjoying your life to a level, and then there's enjoying your life and it's excessive. And a lot of players, because you get money and you get money relatively quickly in comparison.
Young age as well.
Young age. Like when I was an apprentice, I was getting £50 a week. That was my apprenticeship money. And then the money, when you sign pro, that jumps. And then you get pro money and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to live.
And you don't expect the tap to ever turn off as well.
Exactly. So then you got players who are like just buying, I know people that just buy car, or like, I'm thinking, and fortunately for us, our parents would not allow me to indulge. Like, I'll get one quick box. I'll be like, what are you doing? Like, we had that support, that discipline,
guidance,
the guidance, and we listened to our parents, really. So I was never allowed to be overly indulgent, but a lot of players would. And there was one boy, if you're watching this, I'm going to tell him, Andrew Fotiadis. I'm going to tell him.
Full name as well.
Andrew Fotiadis. Now, he was polar opposite. So you get players who would be very excessive and spend and go clubbing all the time. I remember we used to be like, in China Whites or Emporium, Attica, 10 rooms, like frequently in there, getting tables, champagne and stuff. And then in the end, you just spent a lot of money for like one weekend. And Fotiadis, he was the opposite. So he was like, no, I'm not going out. I'm not buying night. We used to call him the student. He used to come in dressed like a student, like in crap clothes. And I'd be like, 40 man, like just buy some nice gear. And he'd be like, no, but you know what he did? He bought like 15 houses.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And so by the time he left, like he was sitting on a lot of money. And that was because his dad was like, nah, you know what? Be sensible with your money. I'm going to show you where to buy. And at that times, I remember you could buy like with like 100% mortgages.
Yeah,
they were
like
out
Mortgage
there.
Express.
Yeah, that it was mad. And he was like, yeah, let me buy that. And he was just buying the places up. So you had boys who was buying up the bar, drinking champagne. Fotiadis was buying up houses.
Yeah.
Now, my man travels around the world whenever he wants.
Yeah.
Not working. So he was the other side of the spectrum. I was probably middle ground. Had some fun, but realised I could make money in property.
And I think that's like the importance of having good role models, whether it's your teachers or people at the club, like you mentioned with like one of your directors. I remember reading the story about, I think it was Michael Richards and Andy Cole.
Yeah.
And Michael Richards like just got his like first, like you said, big paycheck.
Yeah.
Went out to go and buy like, it might have been a bright orange Lamborghini that's pulled up at the training ground. Buzzing, probably half glad, sort of, getting out of the car crooked because it's on the floor. He's like, yeah, look at me. And he said, like, Andy Cole just pulled into one side and been like, what's this?
What you doing?
Yeah.
Like, that's like, where does your mum live?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What's going on? And I think a lot of us have those moments where it just makes us say, yeah, maybe got to get my priorities and all that.
Right, exactly. And the funny thing is, like, I see what you do. So I see you mentor a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much beauty in that because you may not realize what you give, but there are a lot of people now who are successful based on your input and then based on what you've given them. And that's priceless. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really, really important because I know full well that without my mentor to guide me on my first steps in property, I wouldn't be doing this now. No chance.
And I think that's what's great about now. Like, there's always going to be things like we can look at things and say, oh, there used to be 100% mortgages. Interest rates used to be a lot lower. But there's great things like the availability of all the content of people that are talking about things and actually you being able to see people that look like you, sound like you, that are actually doing things that kind of change your perspective. Because not everybody is blessed to have great parents like you that are going to give you the advice. So I think it is like onus for us that have kind of been through the process to say like, okay, look, this is how things can actually be done. So you bought that first property.
Yeah.
bit of a bachelor pad.
Yeah.
But then at what point did you two connect and say we're going to do something together?
The funny thing was, again, like I say about our parents came, had some money. Mum got some, it's almost like, not redundancy money.
Yeah,
like
something like that.
pension, an early pension. And she said we have a brother. So there's 3 of us. And again, like super, super blessed and fortunate to have the parents that we have. And that mum and dad were like, listen, we've got some money. We're going to give each of you some money to do as you feel fit with it. And I was like, okay, cool. So then
That's the Spider-Man moment. With great power comes
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Here's the money.
Great
Here's the
responsibility.
test. Let me see what you do.
Yeah, we'll do
if
a
I
bit.
see you in China White.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So I was like, okay. And like you say, when you're given the money, it's almost like, right, we have to be responsible with this, and we have to make sure that we don't let our parents down because they've entrusted this money in us. And I said to my brother, I said, listen, we already started out with this property thing in my house, and I started to like buy and sell, and I would buy every time I moved club. I'd try and buy somewhere. So I went to Boston and I bought a penthouse
We painted
flat
that.
in
Oh
Boston.
my God, that apartment! I'll never forget how long we were there.
Yeah,
painting.
so I bought it, and then I went to.
I've never painted anything.
Have you not? I do love painting though. I think it's quite.
See, I don't like
therapeutic.
painting.
I don't have patience.
Yeah,
like,
I
I have zero. So I'm trying to do this before I
Yeah.
know it. My whole face is white. I'm rushed to roll.
Yeah, I don't like painting at all. I'm good at demolishing things. So
See,
I'll do
we
the
could start
demolishing.
a business there, 'cause
but
I'm-
anything else.
That's
I'm like,
me.
no, let me get the trades in. Do you know what I mean?
Sledgehammer, 100%.
Yeah, perfect.
Sensitive hammer, no
No
way.
way. Yeah,
Oh, I
no
love
way.
that.
And so I said to my sister, so we were all given some money each. And I said to my sister and my brother, Andrew, by the way, said, right, should we set up a company together? Should we do the property thing together? Because like every time I've bought, I've made money. And then Scarlette was like, I like the idea. Let's do that. And at that time, like, I always say this, you can't be jazz hands forever. You have to think about, okay, if I'm not going to do this. And luckily, Scarlette transitioned into presenting. I was still playing football, but I knew that I wanted to be involved in some sort of like medical profession, because I'd always wanted to be a doctor from way back. And I thought, physiotherapy, I can still do both. But I thought there's no reason why I can't be a physio, Scarlette can't present, and then we can still in tandem with that have a property company. So I said to my brother, come on, let's all 3 of us do this, keep it in the family. And he looked at me and he was like, no chance.
I'm not gonna
I
lie.
find that very funny.
Part of me kind of wishes I took Andrew's side, because Stuart is a nightmare to work with. But we've learned now over the years.
We're going to get onto the
Yeah.
JV side.
We've learned how to work
Yeah,
together now.
he was like, no
siblings.
chance. And then I was like, what do you mean no chance? He said, no, you think I'm giving you this money? I'm like, but it's a family business. He was like, nah, I'm not doing it, bro. I'm not doing it. So I was like, okay. So he opted out. And then Scarlette and I, we said, okay, let's do this. And we bought our first place in Barnet,
A
wasn't
new
it?
Barnet converted house into a downstairs flat we got.
Yeah.
It's a 1-bedroom, we turned it into a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that was, I guess, when we first realised our strengths and weaknesses. Like for me, I think coming from musical theatre and always being on stage and being around sets and set dressing, I knew that I loved the creative side of it. So it'd be the interior design for me. And we had definitely had a few disagreements along the way in terms of what I wanted as a feature chair and what Stuart was not happy to have. But I think the biggest lesson I learned from Stuart from that first renovation is you are renovating to sell. You can't put your own
So with
flair
that
on it.
first one, were you renovating to sell or to refinance?
to flip.
Do you remember how much you bought it for?
Yeah, it was 100
Was it
and
170?
175?
Yeah, something like that.
170,
That sounds
175.
crazy because it was so nice. 170. I wonder how much it's worth now.
Yeah.
That was years ago.
See, I listen to you guys and even my sister, like, she likes to have a portfolio and to like refinance and take money out and keep your assets, where I like to get in and get out. Like, I'm very much let me get in, let me renovate, let me get out. Next one, let me get in, let me get out. And that's just the way that I've always, I'm comfortable like that. You like to have a portfolio.
Yeah.
But when we work together, generally we'll work together to buy and flip.
Yeah.
So we'll renovate it and then we'll.
You don't need to be so aligned in terms of long-term goals as well. Because
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I think we have a lot of conversations in this space around JVs because property is so expensive. Pooling money is a great way to get started earlier on. But with JVs come differences of opinions, cultural differences, expectational.
Yeah.
Just talk about, obviously, despite being siblings,
Yeah.
talk about the process of having effectively a joint venture partner at all times and how you resolve conflict, how you delegate work. How does it work for you?
I mean,
two?
I think now we know our roles. I know my strength, I know my weakness, and vice versa. So Stuart will mainly work with the architect, with the builder. He'll look at a space, reconfigure it. And my thing is like the creative flair of the colour scheme and the type of floor we want and the wall colour or soft furnishing. So I kind of stay in my lane with the interior design. I've got my diploma now, so I know exactly what I'm talking about, which is funny because whenever we do our shows and they come out, people always, the people, keyboard warriors on Twitter, they don't even have a real property company. They don't even know what they're talking about. And it's like, well, if you did your research, you would know that actually we set up our company however many years ago.
Look at the camera, like, do your Googles.
Kindred Elite Limited, thank you very much. We have our company together, but it's always also good to have that diploma in interior design because it's like, no, I actually know what I'm doing. But that is kind of as far as mine goes, whereas obviously you, Stuart, you really walk into a space and know how you're going to make the most of a floor plan.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? And I listen to you and I watch you a lot, and I like a lot of what you say because it resonates with my mindset and the way that I think. So you always say, get a good team around you because you don't know. And I really like that because a lot of people in this field, especially the ones who are public, make out they know it all.
Yeah.
And no one does. And I've always said that we don't know it all.
It lacks efficiency to try and know it all.
Exactly.
You don't have that capacity.
Right.
Exactly.
And you only have the capacity of yourself.
Right. So I know that I can see a building, I can in my head work plans out and be like, if we just do that, whatever else. Scarlette, I know, is she's got the flair. And I think now, more than ever, before, and we never did do this, but developers would paint a room magnolia, there you go, done. Where I think now, we are going more towards having some sort of personality in properties when you sell them. You just can't have it like whitewashed anymore. I think you need to have an injection of colour. You have to have an injection of personality that's just enough to tempt someone to want to buy, which is great because now it's we're in a time where it's more paramount for Scarlette to have her input. Because I do think now people want more than just an empty shell. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
White and grey.
I remember like, starting out, I always liked the design. So that was like my thing. People were like, the standards are super high. And I was like, okay, cool. But I got to a point and I realized, no, standards are catching up. Everyone's like, because gone are the days where everything would be like mahogany, like or oak kitchens, just most basic flooring, like you said, white and magnolia. Now, when you look at like your Barrett homes and your big wares, they're doing actual feature walls. You're seeing all of the spaces they're using and they're making sure that there's an element of interior design in every property.
Yeah, it's important. I think even when we watch big sparkly shows like Selling Sunset or Buying Beverly Hills, you see how these properties are staged and how they're being sold. People want somewhere that's turnkey, they can walk into and think, wow, this is amazing, as opposed to the blank canvas we used to have of, I can now add my stamp to it. Everyone obviously still wants to put their own stamp on something, but not everybody has the eye for it. So I think if it's already done to a certain degree, to not too crazy, because I know that my style can be too crazy. As long as I don't, I rein it in, I don't go too far, I think it is appealing to people. People do want something that's Instagrammable, right?
Yeah.
Or looks pretty. And I like that.
And now, like with the obviously emergence of, like you said, Selling Sunset, all of these shows, the internet just as a full stop to having Pinterest. It's like there's no longer an excuse to do the bare minimum.
Exactly.
People want something that they can take a pic of, be like, look at my new house from day one. Let's talk about some of your more eclectic design choices. Okay. I'm sure from a theatre background.
Okay, so
actually, I'm not even going to ask you.
Let me. Okay, so this is where we're at. So on the very first flat that we bought, I like to stay in my lane. So I always think that if I've got a formula that works, I try to stick to my formula, right?
Like rinse and repeat.
Because it's proven. It's tried, it's tested, it works. So I tend to, if I buy a flat, I'd like to buy a freehold conversion. So if I can get a ground floor, freehold Victorian conversion, Edwardian conversion flat with a garden, I'm getting it. Because I know that people love them. They come at a premium. And if I can put my spin on it, I know that I've got something there that is very, very attractive to a lot of buyers.
Valuable,
So that I always try and buy. If we can, we try and buy near undergrounds or near stations so that we can commute. But I always tend to try and buy freehold if possible, or share a freehold. So we bought our first flat in Barnet.
Thank you to those of you who have liked, shared, commented, but most importantly, subscribed to the channel. Did you know
only 28% of people that regularly watch my videos have subscribed. Now we're trying to get that to 40% so we can bring on bigger and better guests and make better content for you. So if you could do that right now, myself and my team would really appreciate it. Now back to the video.
Literally a walk to the underground station, converted Victorian house, garden, 1 bed that was big enough to convert into a 2-bed. So I was like, this ticks all the boxes. It makes sense. They didn't have off-street parking, but there was parking on the road, so it was fine. And I was like, this is a commuter's dream. So when I bought it, my parents hated it because they couldn't see past what it was like.
Yeah.
But I knew that we had a great property here. They're renovating it. So then Scarlette now wants to get this horrendous, like, stiletto heeled chair. I've told this story so many occasions. And I said, what is that for? She goes, oh, it's a statement chair. We can put it in the living room. And I was like, that statement chair is not going anywhere near this flat. And she was like, but it still look great. And I was like, no. This is not happening. We can dress it, but there's one thing dressing it to sell. There's another thing getting too personal. And I hated it. If you hate something, I hated it passion. She's calling mum, crying on the phone to mum. Mum calls me, then mum calls me, like, I'm getting hammered by my mum. I'm like, mum, where's this come from?
I guess the conversation is, you won't even let me have a chair.
Right.
Yeah,
That's how you sold it.
I
You won't even let me have
did
a
say it was a
chair.
high heel chair. I'm like, he's not letting me put any of my own creative flair into it.
Yeah. And I was like, no, this can't run. It's not happening. So in the end, we didn't have it. And then that particular one, you learn a lot. We got a tradesman in. And I'm sure you've had trades that have let you down. This trade, he actually moved into our house.
With his partner.
Without us knowing.
Blow up bed in the bedroom.
Using up the brand new kitchen, scratched all the hob, the
stainless
surface.
steel hob with a wire scourer.
Yeah, so when we called him, I said, I'm going to pop round. He'd leave because I was popping round. So I went round there thinking, something's not right in the house. Like, I swear.
And it was taking so long.
Yeah, something's not right.
To do the work.
So I was like, you know what, I want to go round there without giving him notice. See, I went round there, my man's rocking in the house like it's his house, chilling. And I was like, nah, you know what? You need to get out. So we had to get somebody else round. But again, like, you learn. And when we've now got a very good team who we trust, it's really important to have a good team. I always say, like, if you find a good tradesman, whatever they are, electrician, plumber, a plaster, whoever they are, keep them close.
And even our suppliers as well, getting good suppliers that we can go to for anything.
Yeah, it's really, really important. So, so that was the first one that we did. The second one was the first floor flat in
Crystal Palace.
No, not Crystal Palace. The one
in Bushell Park.
Bushell Park.
That was really nice. That one.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
And you wanted that purpley sort of like wallpaper in the bedroom.
Actually, you chose that.
Did I?
No, this is what happened. I remember what happened.
No.
I chose some rascal wallpaper. Like it was. To be fair, looking back, it was terrible. So Stuart found something that was middle ground, which is this purple floral, which actually was nice.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have normally gone with, but I had to appease my sister.
Yeah.
But again, it worked. It was a nice feature wall. It brought colour into the room. It was different.
Yeah.
It was vibrant.
Yeah. So
I think it's always trying to find that balance between, let me make it personal, let me do something different, versus I've still got to try and appease the 90%.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. How do you find that?
Look, early on, I think I was always like, I've just come back from Egypt, I've just come back from Dubai, I've seen something, I'm like, yeah. So I think I remember when I did your show and I'm talking about it, and I said, I thought I had this great idea, I've just come back from Dubai, I'm going to put this like TV behind the mirror in the bathroom.
The bathroom, yeah.
Like, in my head, I'm like, this is, because I'm 22, I'm thinking this is like amazing, like it's tech, it's all of this stuff. And it's not to say it was that bad, but you need to understand, I'm operating in Sydenham, like Southeast London, like the market you're operating in. People were coming and saying, I love the flat, but why have they wasted all that money on the TV? So it's like, you don't have to watch it. But they were like, I'm not offering just off that.
Yeah.
And I think,
you went and done it?
Yeah, I did it.
Oh, you put it in?
No,
okay.
I'm not listening.
You did it.
I've got no JV part. I've got no one to tell me I'm not crazy. I'm just crazy in my own head at this point.
Yeah.
So I think definitely stuff like that. Like even you spoke about like your first place, and so me, for example, like being a younger man doing stuff where I'll be like, I want to have a black kitchen.
Yeah.
It's very bachelor style pad-esque. To sell the property, to drive past it 2 days later and see the kitchen in the skip. So in your head, you're like, well, if I would have just done something a bit more standard, maybe they would have paid me an extra £5,000-10,000.
Yeah, for it.
So
Yeah,
I think understanding stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you live and you learn, and I think you have to make mistakes.
You have to.
If you don't go through the trial and error process, you've probably always played it a bit too safe, and maybe not reached your potential, whether it's from a design space or even just from an investment space.
Yeah, I think you have to test the boundaries. You have to say, like, what can I do? What is cost effective? So what will I spend? But I know that I'll get this back and more. What's a bit too much? But I also think that you get character. Like when you go through, and people always think that the trajectory from when you buy your house to when you renovate it and you sell it, it's like that. And I say it's never that. Yeah, you'll buy it, and if it will go well, then your sister will tell you something. You'll be like, what? And it will drop. And then so you're always going up. But as long as the trajectory is generally in an upward direction, you're fine. But I think that when you get those dips, which we all do, like I don't care who you are, something will arise that you're like, oh, geez. Like it's how you deal with those, and that just generates character. Because if this was easy, everyone would be doing it, Kazy. But not everyone's doing it because they can't stomach it. They can't, when times are tough, when they do get tough, they're like, do you know what? No, I'm out of it. But if you can ride it out and be like, no, actually, this is my solution. I experienced this 6 months ago, or I experienced this on our first property. So I know that if we do this, this and this, I think that you just get more answers to those questions. As long as you've got answers and you've got solutions, then generally you'll get to the end game. Recently, we just renovated a house that we had sold and got good money for it, really happy. The profit margin was great. Get a phone call from the estate agent saying, oh, bad news. The people that are buying your house, they're selling a flat, and their flat, the surveys come up, there's some damp on the wall and there's an issue with the roof on the extension of their flat. The people that were buying their flat were first-time buyers. They've been spooked by it, so they can't buy their flat now. So now they still want our house, but
they've got no buyer.
Buyer. So we're like, okay, cool. Now, it's disappointing because we had an exchange date and we had a completion date already, but we wanted to do it before the end of the year. But it's one of those things. Now, what do? You just say, okay, brush the dirt off our shoulder. We'll remarket it. We're confident that we'll sell it again and we'll come to get money for it. It's that the money won't come in as early as we expected. And these things happen. You have no control of it. You have to ride it.
Yeah, I think being able to pivot in business is probably one of the keyest attributes that you've got, because you're always going to reach impasses that if you get to a wall and be like, right, I'm just stuck, then that's the end of your journey. You've got to be willing to turn around and be like, okay, I'm going to try somewhere else.
I always think you've got to be fluid, because if you're rigid, especially with property, you're screwed. Because the amount of times we've done a renovation, you start peeling away at something and you find another issue and another issue and another issue, and then you have to kind of rework what you wanted to do initially. You can never really be stuck on an idea because it's never going to happen exactly how you expect it to.
Yeah, like there's always, like I said, walking into place. I think you're like me. You like to walk into a place and be like, right, we can do this, move that. Sometimes even when you look at the floor plans, we're like, I'm going to do it like this. Sometimes the floor plans don't really represent real life. And so you have to be very careful, which is why even people that are super experienced, I'm like, look, it doesn't matter how many properties you've bought, particularly if it's like stuff like auction purchases. Go and see the property. Go and see it because they're not always representative. How it looks and feels.
And
sometimes
the pictures, the wide angle lens.
Listen, the 0.5. So 0.5 can sell you a dream.
The old goldfish.
0.5 is the modern day catfish.
Right?
Yeah,
it is. It really is.
I was going to have a look at a house the other day. Detached house, 3-bed detached house. The downstairs looked big. Floor plan looked great. And I went there and I was like,
where's the rest of the house?
This is it. I looked at, their hand, they go in and say, hey, just gives you the plan. And I always wonder why they give me the brochure. I've got the brochure, I've got it online. Why are you giving me the brochure on paper for? But anyway, you give me the brochure.
Save the trees.
Yeah, give me the brochure. I looked at it and I'm thinking, this can't be the same house. And I was like, you know what? There's too much money to be, and I tell everyone this, there is no harm in walking away. There is no harm in taking a back step, because sometimes one back step will allow you to take 2, 3, 4 forward. So for me, I was like, you look at it and you just think, and the beauty of being in this industry for a long enough period of time, you can have a look at something and be like, you know what, I have to drop X amount of money into this to get it to where I want it. And I don't think there's going to be a good enough return. And I actually said to the estate agent at the time, I said that your vendor, I don't know who, 'cause I never know whether it's the estate agent telling the vendor what they should sell at or whether it's the vendor telling the estate agent. And they always, I never know which one it was. So I said to the guy, I don't know who's priced this, whether it's you have priced it to get the house or whether the vendor's pushing you guys to try and get this. However, it's priced too high. And he was like, I agree. And I was like, well, and he then said, oh, we've tried to tell the vendor this, but they don't want to listen. But I still left there, not sure whether it was the estate agent and the vendor, do you know what I mean?
It's an interesting conversation because great estate agents can be worth their weight in gold, whether it be them finding you great stock, whether that being able to maximize what they can get. I think there's not enough great estate agents.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time I'll finish a project and I'll know it's worth
You know.
525 to 540.
Yeah.
The agents come in. This is worth 600 to 650 all day long.
Yeah.
But then as a developer, it's very difficult to be like, no, it's not.
No.
I don't want that 50 grand.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
and this is 10 years in I'm doing this. So for people that are just starting out, I understand how you can mismarket. And if you price a property wrong in this market where it's quite difficult
And it's
now,
just sitting there.
you only get
sitting
one
there.
time to go to market. Now the idea of it being new, now people are seeing price reductions.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not good.
So I say that to say that if you are newer into the industry, like if you've got a GDV, like trust your gut. And if you're not sure about the valuation the agent's giving you, maybe do some off market first to test the price
Yeah, that's a
before
good
you
idea.
really go into committing yourself
Yeah.
that this is what we're launching at.
Well, our last house we renovated. So we sat down, Scarlette and I, business partner, and we always work out our numbers because I've always said it, like you make your money when you buy.
100%.
Just when you make your money. So we're like, right, if we can buy at this amount, we know that our renovation cost, even if we go to, because I don't care what anyone says, you can't say I'm going to spend 100 grand and spend 100 grand. There's always a bracket. We could spend 80, we could spend 105, 110, but we ain't going to spend any more than that. So we're like, right, if we spend the worst case scenario, there's still money in this. It's still it's still a very good property to buy and renovate. So we done our figures, and like you, we said, oh yeah, right, we know what this house is going to be worth now. Estate agents came back, we got 4 around. One said saying what we thought. The other 3 all oversold it.
Yeah.
One was 60 grand more than what we worked out. So in the end, and what we always try and do, if we buy through an estate agent because they've sourced a great property for us, we always try and sell back through them. Because we know full well that going forward, they know that if we buy through them again,
Relationships.
it's relationships.
It's, like,
Exactly.
it's almost like, in the property space, I say it's etiquette.
Yeah, it
If
is.
someone's giving you a good deal,
Yeah.
even if they're not necessarily the best in the area, just from an etiquette, it's like, let me give
Let
you
me
an
give you an
opportunity.
opportunity to sell it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we did this.
Might be a little 4-6 weeks.
Yes.
I'm not giving you 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Still gotta make money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Still
But
business.
perfect.
Yeah.
So we said to them, listen, we'll once they're renovated, we're going to let you sell it. So they came in high. So like you said, we were like, we can't go live at this price because I honestly don't think this house is worth it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So I said to the agent, do you know what we're going to do? I want you to market it through your own database.
Yeah.
Get viewings round, have a look at your price that you think it's going to be sold at. And if we don't sell it there, we're going to give you 2 weeks. If not, we'll then go online, we'll go live at our guide price. And he was like, okay, fine. To be fair, they did get viewers. People did come to the house. But again, at that
Do you know
money,
what, with their database, the people didn't come to the house. They dragged people to
To the house.
And
That's
that's what I've
true.
realized.
Right.
Because I did that recently. And it's like, oh, we got 10 viewings in the first week at like some stupid price. It's like 100K, which
More.
is like 100K more than what I
what-
think
yeah.
the property's worth. But like,
but you don't
can
get an offer.
viewings because if you've got like 5 people going to a property down the road, you say, oh, by the way, I can take you to another one a minute
Right.
away.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So in the end, they got viewings. The feedback was, oh yeah, lovely house, great finish, which we knew. But for the money, we would like a bit more
We could
space,
have got
or
a
we
bigger
could have got this.
garden, we could have got a bigger
So
second
I'm like,
bedroom.
well, exactly that. So then we went live at our price and we got it sold. But had we listened to them, you only get one chance at a first impression. I
Yeah,
tell people
exactly
this.
that.
And if we'd have gone there, it would have then gone, sat on their style, then said reduced.
Yeah.
And then people were like, there's a problem with that house.
Yeah.
And you don't want that.
Exactly.
You don't want that.
Really is trust your gut and
Trust it.
don't get greedy. It's so tempting to be
Right.
like, I'm walking away from money. but sometimes you're actually costing yourself money
Yeah.
through
Well,
the
if
greed.
you've got a bridging loan, if you've got a mortgage, if you've
Or any
paid the
other loan,
money
yeah.
out yourself, and that money could be making you money, the longer that house is unsold for, the longer you're losing money. So people may say, oh yeah, but I can get money. But I'm just like, yeah, but if that house is still on the market in 6 months, that's 6 months of mortgage payments. Or that's 6 months of interest from your bridging loan. Like and like you say, from the beginning, what are you going to be happy with?
Yeah.
And if you can get that and it's not at the figure that someone has told you, remember what you started off at. It's really important because people do get greedy and they get stuck with their properties.
No, I think that's great advice. A lot of people do just get lost in but you just got to make it work. I want to go back to you working together.
Yeah.
You touched on it. You said obviously you said, oh yeah, I just do my bit. Scott does her bit. Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
But the reality is you guys have now worked together for how long?
Oh,
So hang on, since I was 24, 13 years?
Yeah, 13
14
years now.
Yeah.
And
This is-
obviously,
yeah, this-
a lot
this-
of positives, but it's how would you advise somebody, whether it's with a sibling, with a friend, but to maintain a long-term business relationship with a partner?
I think for me, what's important really is knowing your strengths and weaknesses and working out in that partnership who is going to do what. Okay, there are going to be times when, you know, the lines might cross, but I think as long as you know what your roles are, that's always going to help you. And talk it through. You know, we can't fall out, we're brother and sister, but friends potentially could. But as long as you remember you're doing this as a business and a business is separate to your friendship or your family relation or whatever that is, and just know that there's always going to be complications in business, but you can't let those lines cloud. I don't think. Don't muddy those lines of a friendship or relationship and business, because that's when you're going to start running into problems.
yeah. For me, it's transparency.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking for properties, because I live on the Zoopla, Rightmove, Prime Location, I'm always just get emails sent to me about properties that have come on the market, and I'll look at something and I'll send it to Scarlette and say, what do you think to this? And she'll be like, oh yeah. So from the beginning, before we've even bought, there's a collaboration. A decision is never made without one of us knowing what we're doing, or knowing that, oh, actually Stuart's going to, if I go and look at property, I'll say to Scarlette, I found this, I'm gonna have a look at it. And she'll be like, okay, yeah, cool. Or she'll be like, not sure if it's a good one. But from the beginning, it's about being open, about being honest, and about being transparent. And then once you get the property, don't get me wrong, Scarlette will say things, I'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, that's a crap idea. Like, we had in the last house we just renovated, the tiles were the fish.
Hang on though, but when we got closer, in the bathroom there were these beautiful, small, like a dark teal tile. And there were lots of rectangles that made a square, and then it's all around. Now, in the video, when he did the walkthrough video to send to me, there were fish on the tiles, and I was like, that's a bit weird. But when I got there, they were just stickers, so they could have come off. But the tiles were beautiful. Oh, they must have been from what, the 50s?
The tiles they were quite nice tiles,
so
but
nice.
in my head, they weren't going to work in the renovation that
And
we were
I
doing.
figured they could absolutely work in the bathroom. So I'm like, do not touch that bathroom until I'm back. I was away somewhere.
So I didn't.
Don't touch it. So then I came back. I think everything else got ripped out, like the shower and the bath. I got back and I took every single one of those tiles off, and I've now got them in a box because I will reuse those tiles in a renovation.
She took the bath. She took
They-
Are you sure you're not dying on a hill there?
No,
Do you
I'm gonna. No, I've got
I want
them.
to see her use these
Yeah,
tiles.
yeah.
No,
Now, can
some
we-
of them are broken.
I need a message. What?
I will,
I need to make sure
Some
that
of
you
them are
message
broken,
me.
but I've got enough to have some sort of feature space in a next bathroom
Mm-hmm.
for these tiles, because they are beautiful and they're vintage. The colour's so rich.
Do you know who I need to introduce you to?
Who?
My dad.
Yeah.
He's lovely, man. Oh,
Really?
you know, house on fire.
Let's do it.
Man, like, because I've got, like, say for example, every time
Yeah.
I buy a property with a garage, I don't even tell him. Somehow I turn up.
And there's stuff in the garage.
The garage is full. Everything. Oh, I've saved these tiles.
Yeah.
And to his defense,
Yeah.
sometimes we use them like, this, you know what I mean? We end up in the neighbour's WhatsApp group and he's bought a load of paving slabs
right.
off somebody.
And you've used them.
And we've used
Yeah.
them.
See?
But, like, there was a fireplace that was
Yeah.
probably sitting in the garage for like 8 years and I just used it on a project.
Right, there we
But
go.
At the
that's
same
what
time,
Scarlette's like.
that 8 years of storage, we could have just bought a fireplace right now.
Right,
But
yeah.
I'm all about upcycling, repurposing, sustainability. So let's reuse those tiles. Why are they going into landfill?
Well, we hopefully we're
We
going
will
to
see
see
those
those.
those tiles.
I want to see these tiles used.
And I can't wait. And I can't. It's gonna look. They're gonna look so good.
Yeah.
And
Where are they? In your loft or in mum and dad's garage?
I took them to mum and dad. They weren't staying anywhere near my house.
As long as they're there, you didn't throw them
No,
away.
you've got 3 boxes of those tiles.
Yeah, it's so nice. I just need to get them cleaned off. I need to work out how to do that.
Do you know, I didn't understand. I didn't actually know that you two were this active in property still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we
do you know,
still.
I'm like one of the people on this watching a show, so I don't know how much they know.
The funny thing
No,
is,
we
people
know.
looked at the show and they're like, them two are not even brother and sister.
Yeah, the first time.
was like,
So Worst House Series 1
Yeah.
came out a couple of years ago, and all the reviews were raving. We've got like 5-star reviews, great viewing figures, brilliant. But the one negative comment, if you can even call it that, was some lady wrote in a newspaper, and she's like, you know, these two, they're so perfect. It's hard to believe that they're really brother and sister. And it's like, is that, are you trying to cuss us out? Is that a diss or what?
Is it a diss or a
Like,
compliment?
yeah,
What is it?
because we
Yeah.
are brother and sister,
Yeah.
and that is our banter, and it was so perfect, but that is just how we are. And I think that's why TV loves us without that sounding arrogant, but it's because we are exactly who we are off camera, on camera.
Yeah.
We really care about renovations. We do have the banter. We do fall out. We are there bickering for like half an hour, and the camera guy puts the camera down because like, can we just get this shot? But it's real and it's honest. And I think people want to see that on TV a lot more. They want to see the authenticity of genuine people.
I think I say this like when I listen to music. I like some gangster rap, but I've got to believe that you're a gangster when I
Right.
listen
Yeah,
to the
when you listen
music.
to the music,
Like,
yeah.
because otherwise you can't
Yeah.
be
Like
talking
Drake.
about this.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Come on, man. You was holding hands. You wasn't doing whatever you said you was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I say that from you guys that actually have a genuine passion for property
Yeah.
that it's going to feed through into what you talk about.
I'm really lucky in the fact that Scarlette has paved the way for me to now be a presenter, because I had no intention of doing presenting. None
Did you need
whatsoever.
convincing?
No, do you know
No,
funny-
hello. He likes to talk. He likes to be centre of attention. Of course, he didn't need convincing. It's
Yeah.
like a dream role for him.
But the thing is, like, when I play football, that was my job. I played. So I've played football in front of crowds. And then I've done interviews after games. So I'm comfortable and I'm used to being in front of people. I'm used to being around people. Like my wife, she doesn't like to be around people she doesn't really know. She can get a bit like anxious, whatever else. But I'm like polar opposite. Just give me people, give me a crowd. Like I really enjoy being around. Like, yeah, I enjoy to be around people and to entertain. And
No convincing then, yeah.
No convincing.
loved it. So when Scarlette was like, she's obviously doing the TV shows, I'm really proud of my little sister. She's doing Place in the Sun. Like, she's been really successful in what she's doing. We've done our property business together and it was going really well. And then the opportunity came to they were researching Scarlette for a show with George Clarke. And
And it was funny, sorry, just before you tell that, whilst I was doing A Place in the Sun, I would always come up with show ideas for the two of us because I knew how good he was in terms of personality-wise. And we'd go in and meet the commissioners and they're like, no. I was like, no, I know for a fact we would do so well together. And then I had a screen test for a show that George Clarke was bringing out, Flipping Fast. And I remember talking to the executive producer on that show. Do you remember that one, Flipping Fast?
Yeah, no.
It was a competition
Yeah,
format
yeah,
where
yeah.
people had to flip properties. And yeah, spoke to the exec producer, mentioned the fact that me and Stuart had got a production company together.
Yeah.
He like looked into it and everything. And it was funny because the next morning I woke up and I called my mum. I'm like, Mum, I think this is the opportunity for me to say to him, would you take me and my brother? Do you think I should drop him an email? She's like, yeah, why not? What have you got to lose? And I opened my email app to send the email and he'd emailed me saying, so I've been doing more research on your brother. Do you think he'd be interested in coming in for a screen test? I was like, what? Things just aligned.
Yeah.
And then we did the screen test. I did my bit first. He came in late. He's always late. And then did it together. And the guy was like, well, this is it. Like, obviously we need Channel 4 to sign it off, but
In
Funny
their
is
eyes,
this-
they're like, yeah, this is...
Yeah.
funny thing
that's
was,
it.
because I've been doing property for a long time and I'm very passionate about property, when I was doing the screen test, they were talking to us about property and about like our experiences in it. And I remember going in there, and you know what it's like, Kazy, you got some like day one friends, right? That if you were anything on television or anything on the podcast or on your YouTube channels that isn't really you in real life, they're gonna come for you, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna let you know.
No, we don't.
Yeah. So I've got friends like that. So my day ones, my bona fides. I remember going in there and I said to the production company, if I'm going to be doing this, I need to do it as me. Like, please don't ask me to be something that I'm not, because I won't do it. And I was confident to say that because I didn't plan to be a presenter.
Yeah.
So I could go in there saying, if you want me to do it, I'll do it, but I'm doing it my way. And funnily enough, they said, that's exactly what we want. And I was like, sorry? And I said, so many people come in here and they try to give us what they think we want. And all we want are people that are authentic and genuine. So I was like, cool, I can do that. So we literally just spoke like this, told them what I thought, told them my ideas and views on property. Then, was it 3 weeks later, was it?
Yeah, maybe not even that long.
Yeah, we got the call saying, we want you to do the show. And then even, I was like, in my head I was thinking, really? So we did
and that was your first show.
My first show. It was a prime time show. Like, so
George Clarke,
I literally my
who we've
first
watched
gig.
for years.
Yeah, I like watching property shows.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a bit of a geek, so I watched Grand Designs. I used to love Property Ladder. Like, I used to love watching Sarah Breen. That was my go-to, Property Ladder. I used to watch Grand Designs. I used to watch like all George Clarke's Amazing Spaces. So at the time, we didn't know who it was going to be with, did we?
No, we just knew it was a big name in property on Channel 4. So I was like, it's either George Clarke or
Kevin McLeod. I thought it might have been.
McLeod.
And it ended up being George Clarke. I learned a lot from my sister and from George Clarke on that first series. I was like a sponge, like, listen, I ain't done it before. Let me just see what these guys do and how they conduct themselves. And then you just start to pick it up and then you become yourself. And then it went really well.
And actually, whilst we were filming that show, so the footage that gets filmed, the content are called rushes. So they would get sent back to Channel 4 for them to look over kind of every day we'd finish filming. And they loved it so much, hadn't even aired yet. They loved it so much that Channel 4 were doing a Black to Front Day. I don't know if you remember this, back in 2022, 2021?
Oh, might be 21.
2021, I think, in the October. And they asked us to basically take on the role of Phil and Kirsty in Love It or List It. So that one day, it's 24 hours of content with black people in front of camera and behind camera. And they were trying to find the right people to do all the shows. So they asked us to do Love It or List It, which actually aired before Flipping Fast. Yeah. But it was a great intro for everyone to see us as a duo covering such an iconic show on the channel. So that came out. And then a few months later, Flipping Fast came out, did really well. And then all of these shows were just smashing the viewing figures. And the channel was like, oh, okay, we weren't expecting this.
Yeah.
And I think they might have thought, I don't know, maybe they thought it was a fluke. And then we got Worst House on the Street, Series 1 again, smashed viewing figures. I remember them saying, you know, if they get 500,000 views, we'll be happy. And I think we maxed out like 1.3 or 1.2 million or something. And they were like, okay, well, off the back of that, we're now going to commission you a Series 2 and 3 of Worst House, which was amazing. They hadn't done that for many years, commissioning 2 series off the back of 1.
Yeah.
And then we got another new show, Can't Sell, Must Sell, which comes out, I think, in April if things stay as
April,
it is, depending on the scheduling. That comes out next year. And then Series 3 is already in the can. That comes out next year.
And then
booked
and busy.
Yeah, and it's
houses.
literally just like, it's
That's
just
amazing.
kind of rolled on. But it's been brilliant. And I think it is because, as Stuart said, we are just ourselves. We're just very natural. We're very honest, very raw. I think we work well in TV as well because Stuart is like, I'm going to do it my way. I've come from a background where I've had to learn a script or stand on a particular point and do your dance routine here. So I'm very good at getting a script, making sure I know the points we have to hit, and I keep it going that way, whereas Stuart brings in the natural knowledge and the natural flair. So we do really work well together. And I think when you've got a co-host, it's kind of 50% of the work, because if I forget anything, Stuart will pick it up. Or if I can't say a line, Stuart will pick it up, or vice versa.
Sometimes, I kid you not, I'm still amazed by this. My sister will have like a piece like that. She's got to do a piece to camera.
You've got to
and
learn
she'll look at
it,
it, she'll read it, and then she'll learn it and be like, bang, and just piece to camera. And I'll be like, how do you do that? And then when it's my turn, I'll be like, just tell me the bullet points. What do you want me to get out of this?
See me and you.
Yeah.
No, you.
Just tell me that. I don't know how she does it.
No, because see, doing that, if you ask him behind the camera, I even had a teleprompter.
Oh, did you?
I almost had a breakdown. I said, I can't read a script. I'm either freestyling like this, or that's it.
She's amazing.
I don't know what you're
She's amazing. Like, and she'll do it, and it'll be like, blam, bang, 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 and I'll be like, right, okay, what? Okay, you want me to bit this bit, and I'll deliver it.
Yeah,
in
and I'll deliver it in my own way,
Mm.
and I'll just make sure that the main points they want to get, they get the main points. And we have a script, and I'll go through the scripts, and I'll be like, right, okay, yeah, right now, and then I'll deliver it as the way I want to deliver it, and it works. Do you know what I mean? It works for us. Good thing about our work is that you can always edit it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I not muck about a bit, but
he mucks about a lot.
I like to have a laugh. Do you know what I mean?
Sound like a little snitch.
I'll say it as it
But
is.
she'll be like, Stuart, no, come on, it's serious now.
come on.
Yeah, let's get it. And I'll be like, oh, don't worry.
They'll
But I
just
think
edit it out.
authenticity always shines through, and I
Yeah.
think what you can definitely see, even talking to you both today, is that you genuinely have a passion about property,
Yeah.
about presenting, about obviously what you're delivering stuff to a higher standard. And I think people are always going to see that. Like,
Yeah.
there might be somebody that's got their 5 degrees in interior design, and somebody else whose dad's dad was a
Yeah.
builder, but it's like, you know, that's not always what is going to make you the best at what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Exactly.
See, I think obviously we will appreciate you collectively bringing yourselves to the screen. We enjoy the shows,
Thank
and
you.
I've really enjoyed having you on today.
Yeah, it's been great.
What's like, just before I let you go, what's your plans going forward? Because obviously you've got all these shows that are already in the pipeline. You've got projects you're already working on. What does your 2025 look like?
Oh, first of all, I don't want to be in the UK. I want to be
Okay.
in, you know, I'm spending time in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I've taken Worst House on the Street and Can't Sell to networks in America. So there's HGTV over there, Magnolia Network. There's another one as well. And I have pitched it to them, and the production company that we work with here in the UK have also sent the shows over there. So I'm hoping 2025 we might see
Just do a little relocation.
right? Worst House on the Block or something. We'll be doing
Yeah.
some shows over in the States because I just think they love property over there. You know, you've got
Yeah.
the Property Brothers over there that do all those property shows. I love them, and I feel as though me and Stuart bringing our UK duo flair over there as well.
Yeah.
I think it would smash it. So that's what I'm putting out into the universe, is that we'll get to do our shows over in the States too.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think that in this realm, which is why I love what you do, is that we need to see more representation from Black ethnic minorities to show people that, no, actually, we are successful in all environments, in all industries. People always say, oh, sportsmen or musicians. Yeah, we are successful in that, but we're also property developers. We're also, so I think it's really important that, and don't get me wrong, we are nowhere near our pinnacle. We're still quite early in our journey, especially me anyway, in presenting, but you can present, like you've got a flair, and not only have you got a flair presenting, you are very knowledgeable and successful in property. So I would like to see more people like you on mainstream TV.
You tell Simone, by the way, part of my team. She's always like, why do you have presenter in your bio? I said, because I like it, Simone. I'm going to do it soon.
You're a good
Thank you. They
presenter.
said I'm good. We're like,
Yes. You
And
absolutely
I
should
think
be.
I think that you're a role model,
thank
and
you.
I think it's really important that if we are now, I say, eating at the top table, that we try and open doors
100%.
for others to
Yeah.
because there's enough space for us all to eat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, like if you're not talented, then no. But if you're talented and you know what you're doing and you're successful, yeah, please come along. So for me, I don't want to sound too like contrived or too, do you know what I mean, like jumping on my soapbox, but if we can just try and promote more of like ethnic minority, more successful young Black entrepreneurs to be seen, because whenever we're out, people always say, we're so proud of you.
Yeah.
Like, we love the fact that you guys are on TV and your sibling is doing so well. And it's like, oh, great. Like, that's brilliant. But there are so many others that people should see and be proud of,
Yeah.
you know?
That's what I love about this podcast. I get the opportunity to showcase like people that are just, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm looking for a guest. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to be on there in 2 years. And I'm like, come on now. Like, you're doing great stuff. What are you talking
Come on.
about? Like, no
Yeah.
one
I
cares
love that.
how many followers you got. Let's come on now. So we had like Aaron that came on earlier. I said he's absolutely smashing it at 25.
Yeah.
Just sold his, or he's selling his first property for over £1 million. And loads of people like Denzel, who set up the Gen Z Club and
Yeah.
now puts on events for like thousands of young property investors. So
Amazing.
there's so many opportunities, and I think it's that saying that, you know, at the bottom there's a lot of competition, whereas you go towards the top there's a lot more collaboration.
Absolutely.
And we're
And that's
trying
what we
to
need to
push
do
that
more.
narrative
Yeah.
forwards a lot more.
I think it's really, really important, because I think that the general public should see your hard work. And we've been fortunate enough, lucky enough, that they've seen ours, but not everyone's as fortunate. And I, for sure, Scarlette's done daytime TV with one cameraman that does camera,
And sound
film,
and lighting.
all lot. I've suddenly just gone into doing like major
Production up.
Literally,
Yeah.
he's got all the multicam shots, you know, you've got everything.
So Scarlett's really, she's done the hard work for me, and I've just jumped on board. So I've been very, very fortunate, and I understand that. I'm truly blessed. Thank you, Scarlett.
No, and he does say that all the time, to be fair, which is good.
But I do believe that there are so many other people doing great jobs that are not seen, and if we can somehow, way, shape or form, try and improve that and get more people. So that's what I'm saying, Kazy. You need to get let's get on TV, man. Come on.
Channel 4 prime time, yeah.
Yeah.
We try something. But that has been another episode of the PBK podcast. Thank you very much for coming on. Hopefully, we're going to see you in the sun 2025, both of you. But yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. If you've got any questions for myself or them, then you can ask us in the comments. And apart from that, we'll see you next week. Peace.